Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. Let's get it. We're back with another episode of the AC Podcast, bringing you guys the latest in the NFL. What we got today? Well, let me look at my notes. Steelers defeat the Bengals. Of course, that's on the table. My takeaways on both sides of the ball. And I'm going to be giving you my top 5 winners and my top 5 losers. You don't want to miss that. And I'm going to tell you something in my top 5 losers interesting about Dak Prescott. Because I know a lot of y'all are Cowboys fans out there, and you guys disgust me, and your team disgusts me as well because I'm an Eagles fan. But I'll tell you some interesting things that I noticed. I think there's some trouble in Big D, and you guys should be worried. But I'm going to get to this Pittsburgh Steelers stuff first because this is my team, and I am happy to say that we finally have a win on the board. I still think our season's over, but I didn't want to see us go out sad and be 0-4. But nonetheless, we got a win. Steelers defeat the Bengals last night on Monday Night Football, 27-3. Good game on offense and defense for the Steelers. I'm going to touch on the offense first. I'm going to get right into it. Steelers on offense yesterday opened the game, a lot of wildcat jet motions. Randy Fichtner, I have to admit, I criticized him, and he came out with a creative game plan early in the game. They got Mason Rudolph in rhythm. They threw a bunch of RPOs, throws to the running back, reverses, swings. They clearly were trying to exploit the Bengals horizontally on the field with a lot of the, wildcat stuff, because the Bengals just have a slow defense. They were playing a lot of big guys in the middle of the defense, trying not to let us run up the middle. So that was pretty obvious. Steelers got to the edge a lot against the Bengals last night, and that proved to be something that was really effective, actually. Connor ran the ball 10 times for 42 yards, and he also had 8 receptions for 83 yards. Samuel didn't have a good game running the ball, 10 rushes for 26 yards, but he also had 8 receptions for 57 yards. And he also had 3 for 3 passing for 31 yards. First player to have a 25 plus passing yards, 25 plus rushing yards, and 25 plus receiving yards since Christian McCaffrey in 2017. So that's an interesting stat. But nonetheless, Mason Rudolph, relatively game manager type stuff, 24-28, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, QBR of 87.4, didn't turn the ball over. O-line didn't allow any sacks, and they were good in the run blocking. O-line finally showed up. We have 3 Pro Bowlers on the offensive line, so I expected that. I think having been on the sideline was a real good help. Fichtner, like I said, already did a good job last night. I think Ben was heavily involved in some of the play calling. At least that's just my opinion. I don't know that for sure, but that's just my opinion from seeing him on the sideline, seeing him being actively involved. He had a headset the whole night, so that was interesting and something to monitor going forward, at least as a Steelers fan for me. Not many passes to receivers. Deontay Johnson, 6 receptions for 77 yards and a touchdown. He fumbled early, but he recovered. Juju gave him a nice little pep talk on the sideline, and he recovered from that. But Juju only had 3 receptions for 15 yards, and James Washington, Mason Rudolph's former college teammate and roommate, had 0 catches and only had 1 target. I thought James Washington would be more of a factor now that Mason Rudolph was the quarterback, considering what they've done in the preseason with him throwing a lot of deep shots. But the Steelers didn't have a lot of deep shots called in this game. There was a lot of check downs, a lot of throws to the running back. Vanette had a key 3rd down catch, a 17-yard reception when the Steelers were in a long situation. But there wasn't many deep and intermediate routes. It was a lot of check downs. I get it. The Steelers probably had a conservative game plan, and they were just, trying to escape with a victory. But against Baltimore, they're going to have more intermediate and deep routes. They're going to have to take the train wheels off Mason Rudolph a little bit more, because Baltimore's defense, even though they gave up 40 to Cleveland, they're still a really good defense, and they're not going to let you just throw it to the running backs and let you control the game like that. That's not going to happen against the Baltimore Ravens. You're going to have a more diversified offense instead of just checking it down. But Mason Rudolph, he clearly can throw the ball short. I would expect any NFL quarterback to do that, but he was 22 of 24 on attempts of less than 10 air yards, and he only averaged 3.5 air yards last night, according to Next Gen Stats. So, that's that. But it was a relatively good game for the offense as a whole. I just want to see Mason Rudolph get it to the receivers more. Juju's got to be involved. He's the best receiver on the team, and James Washington's got to get involved too. Dante Moncrief, I don't think I saw him play last night. He was active, but he doesn't deserve to play. He's rated the worst receiver out of 108 qualifying receivers, so he deserves to be cut in my opinion. But he doesn't belong on this team right now. We just need to go with the young receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster, James Washington, Deontay Johnson, and Johnny Holton, as far as I'm concerned. So overall, Steelers look good on offense. They're gonna have to open up the playbook a little bit more. So I'm gonna be looking for that. But the game plan overall was sound, and it beat the Bengals. Bengals aren't much of a team to brag about beating. They're terrible, and they're my top losers, just to let y'all know. But it was a win, and a win is a win nonetheless. I'm going to get to the defense because this is the part where I was really, really impressed. Defense had 8 sacks last night. Bengals O-line is atrocious. They're horrible. They are awful. But it was a dominant game by the D-line. Sacks galore everywhere. According to Next Gen Stats, Steelers had 5 different defenders that finished with multiple QB pressures. Stephon Tuitt had 9. TJ Watt had 6. Cameron Hayward had 4. Bud Dupree had 2. And Javon Hargrave had 2. So that was very, very good for the Steelers defense. Devin Bush was the standout player to me. He just flashed a lot to me. He had 9 total tackles, a sack, a pass defense, 3 tackles for loss. He was just all over the field. I was trying to figure out who was calling the defensive plays during the game because the Steelers were, for once they were actually lined up, communication was good between everybody, and there were no coverage busts, and Mark Barron was the one calling the defensive plays. I'm looking for Devin Bush to take over that role later in the season because I think he's the Steelers' best linebacker by far. So that's something to monitor. But Bud Dupree showed up last night, had a strip sack. Watt recovered in the red zone. That was a big play. Barron is not good in coverage. He had an interception in the end zone yesterday, so that's good. I'm not going to knock him for that. But he got targeted early against the Bengals when he was manned up against Tyler Eifert. I think that Mark Barron is not the guy you want covering the tight ends. I think more so you should either move Devin Bush into that role and bracket the tight end with a safety, or you should just slide Minkah Fitzpatrick down to the slot and let Edmonds cover deep. But I understand why the Steelers don't want to do that because Minkah Fitzpatrick wants to be a free safety, but he can cover the slot really well. And he can just cover the slot really well, but I understand why they don't want to do that because Terrell Edmonds has struggled covering deep his whole career, so you don't want to take that chance when Minkah Fitzpatrick is good at doing that. But eventually I'm looking for both of those safety spots to be interchangeable and both of them to be able to do everything, or at least Terrell Edmonds cover him. I don't know, but Mark Barron should probably stick to covering running backs out the backfield, not the tight end, because he got caught on that against the 49ers last game. George Kittle, he got flagged for a key holding call that cost us, a stop on 3rd down. So that's no good. Other thing I noticed is question mark is Mike Hilton and these slot blitzes. The slot blitzes, Keith Butler and the Steelers got to stop making that so obvious. It's clear when they do the slot blitzes. Mike Hilton, they bluffed it a few times yesterday where he dropped back into coverage, but the slot blitzes didn't work yesterday. He got flat ironed by Joe Mixon on one of them, and the other one, he just didn't even get there. It was picked up. So I think that's something that the Steelers need to stop using so much. Also, I noticed that Hilton's a better run defender than in coverage, and that's highlighted by Pro Football Focus. Teams are having a perfect passer rating, 158.3 when they target him in coverage. That's horrendous. He's a horrendous coverage defender. And I also noticed that they're subbing in Cam Sutton on passing downs over to play the slot over Hilton. At some point, the Steelers are going to have a slot corner. They can't have one guy that's good against the run and one guy that's playing against the pass. You got to have your cornerback roles and cornerback positions solidified. Steven Nelson and Joe Hayden played great last night. I didn't like that pass interference call on Steven Nelson, but it is what it is. Joe Hayden, I don't know why he even bid on a double move, but, and he had to commit PI to stop a touchdown. So that it is what it is. But at some point, Steelers got to decide on who's the starting slot corner. It can't be Mike Hilton on rundowns and Cam Sutton on passing downs, because you never know when the team can audible and all that stuff. So it's just best to have one starting slot corner. But Mike Hilton, he's not good in coverage. as a slot corner. I see why the Steelers didn't pay him while he's playing on a prove-it deal. So I think Cam Sutton should just be the starter in the slot. Honestly, if that's what he's good at, then that's what he's good at. If Hilton's not good enough, then just put him on the bench. It is what it is. But TJ Watt had a sack, Hargrave had a sack, Cameron Hayward active, Stephon Tuitt active. It was just dominant performance, and they all did it. They were able to do all this by stopping the run. Cincinnati only had 19 rushes for 73 yards, 3.8 yards per attempt. That's pretty good. They held Andy Dalton in check, 21-37 for 171 yards and interception. He only averaged 4.6 yards per pass. That is astounding. And he only had a QBR of 7. That's atrocious. That's terrible. But I can't really blame Andy Dalton for everything because Bengals O-line is probably the worst in the league. It's horrendous. It's horrendous. But I think this defense should finally be heading in the right direction now. I get it was against the Bengals. They're not much anything to brag about. But they were getting deep shots to John Ross a lot. Tyler Boyd's been killing it in the slot. They got Auden Tate out of Florida State. He's a big physical target. They have Joe Mixon in the backfield. They don't have an O-line. And Andy Dalton's not a bad quarterback. He's just an average one. But I think that was a good game for the Steelers secondary, especially. Minkah Fitzpatrick that trade looks like it's stabilized the secondary. I like Sean Davis and everything, but Minkah Fitzpatrick, he's better than Sean Davis. There's no doubts about that. And he covered deep. You didn't hear his name all night, which is a good thing with your defensive back. He covered deep, did his responsibility, made some solid tackles, and did his job. So I like where the defense is headed. And overall, I think the Steelers played a complete game, but they're going to have to bring a better game this Sunday against the Baltimore Ravens because they're coming off 2 losses where they've given up 500 yards on defense, and they're not going to be happy about that. And they've given up 30-plus points in back-to-back games. So Steelers are going to have to unlock the playbook some more on offense, and also on defense, they're going to have to continue what they did. But I think some of the early negatives about the defense is just Mark Barron being on tight ends. That's not going to work going forward, especially with Lamar Jackson targeting Mark Andrews a lot. He likes him, so you're going to have to put someone else on tight ends going forward. And also the slot corner position, I'm looking for Steelers to make a more sound decision on who's going to be the starter, not just interchanging guys for situations. But overall, I think it was a good thing. And also, I noticed the Steelers are playing a lot more man coverage, and they're looking effective in it. Steven Nelson looks good. Joe Hayden looks good. Slot positions got to get locked down some. Devin Bush looked good in coverage yesterday at pass defense. I already mentioned that. He controlled the game a lot yesterday. He controlled the gaps, and then he sprinted when he saw free room. He's going sideline to sideline. He was just very active last night, and that's our first-round pick, so I'm happy to see that. But, defense just did a great job yesterday overall, and I liked what I saw from him. But now I'm going to move on and get to my top 5 winners. So, first winner, Jameis Winston and Shaq Barrett. Not the Browns. What am I talking about? Bucks won yesterday, or Sunday, my fault. And Jameis Winston looked impressive. 28 of 41 for 385 yards, 4 touchdowns, and interception. Jameis Winston was stellar. He was stellar. Looked good going through his reads. Mike Evans, touchdown. Chris Godwin, just a monster on Sunday. So Jameis Winston looked impressive. He's had two great back-to-back games. Not good. He's had 2 great back-to-back games. And so if he can continue this going forward, the Bucs should be a force to be reckoned with. And on defense, Shaq Barrett had a forced fumble, a forced interception, an interception, and a sack. And he's got the most turnovers forced off pressures. That is impressive. He's got 4 turnovers created from QB pressures. That is tops in the league. He's ahead of Whitney Merciless, Chandler Jones, Khalil Mack. You guys know how I feel about Khalil Mack after yesterday. And Kyle Van Noy. That's impressive. So that's something to be noteworthy going forward. I think the Bucs got to get their defense shored up overall in the secondary or at least in the pass coverage. But Shaq Barrett looks good. Jameis Winston looks good. So that's something to be happy about if you're the Bucs fan right now. Browns offense was my second winner. Browns offense put up 40 points. Put up 535 total yards. Browns been struggling on offense. Baker Mayfield have been struggling. But The key to this offense is going to be the running game. Nick Chubb had 20 carries for 165 yards and 3 touchdowns. Mayfield threw for 342 and a touchdown and interception. He only completed 60% of his passes, though. I expect better from Baker Mayfield because he's an accurate quarterback. But overall, the Browns are going to have to run the football, obviously, because they don't have the line to take all these deep shots. They just need to get the ball in their playmakers' hands and let everything happen. I still have question marks about the Browns, but I'm not going to criticize them on this day because they won, and they're my top winners, so I'm not going to do that right now. But Browns had a good game. They beat a division rival, and they're looking good. My third winner, Carson Wentz / Patrick Mahomes. And you guys may be thinking, oh, Carson Wentz didn't do all that good. He only had 160 yards thrown, and Mahomes, he didn't even throw a touchdown. But I'm going to tell you guys why I was so impressed with Carson Wentz and Patrick Mahomes and why they're in the top 3 winners. Carson Wentz was 16-27, 160 yards, 3 touchdowns. But let me tell you the things that I observed in this game that he won. Number one, he had 3 short fields, so you couldn't expect him to throw for much yards. He had a short field off a fumble, a short field off a kick out of bounds, and then a short field off of a kick return that was 60 yards by Miles Sanders. So he wasn't going to have that many passing yards anyways. Eagles ran the ball effectively in this game. But Carson Wentz led the offense. That was clear. If it wasn't for him, they wouldn't even have been throwing. He made some special throws, of course. He was leader, the conductor, the engine of this offense. Without Carson Wentz, without Carson Wentz, the Eagles aren't going anywhere. And he did this all without a deep threat, so I couldn't expect him to have that many passing yards against a good Green Bay secondary. But he made the throws necessary when he needed to. But he did this without a deep threat. Eagles didn't have any deep plays called the whole night. They didn't. Everything was short to intermediate, and the Eagles got what they got. And but the thing that impressed me most is Carson Wentz converted on 3rd down in the red zone. He's top. Eagles offense is the top 3rd down offense right now, converting 56% of their 3rd downs. And for anyone who wants to question Carson Wentz, let me hit you with this. He has 11 games with 3 passing touchdowns since 2017. Only Brady, who has 12, Wilson, who has 13, and Mahomes, who has 13, have more. And he's missed a lot of games. I'm going to read you that again so y'all can understand. 11 games with 3+ passing touchdowns since 2017. Only Brady, who has 12, Russell Wilson, who has 13, and Patrick Mahomes, who has 13, have more. So there's nothing to question about Carson Wentz and his ability to throw the football. The only question is his durability. And if he stays upright, Eagles are going places. It's not his fault the Eagles are 2-2 right now. It's not. But I was impressed by all of that. And I'm also impressed by Patrick Mahomes. Now, he was 24-42 for 315 yards. It wasn't his best day. He also had 6 rushes for 54 yards, and he converted a key 4th and 8. And he did this all while Kelsey was being doubled a lot. He did this without a deep completion, which was the most impressive part. He did this without a deep completion. He won with a bunch of short to intermediate routes to his receivers. He got a few throws at Kelsey. Also, Kelsey had that nice hook and ladder play, to LaShawn McCoy, which was nice. But overall, Patrick Mahomes led a game-winning drive in the 4th quarter when he was down, hadn't completed a deep completion, and I thought that was impressive. Patrick Mahomes and Carson Wentz are the 2 most gifted passers in the NFL right now. They're the 2 most talented quarterbacks, along with Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to hear anything about anyone else. There's just throws that Carson Wentz and Patrick Mahomes can make that not other quarterbacks can make, other than probably Aaron Rodgers. Their arm talent is surreal. It's just surreal. But I'm going to move on. 4th winner of the week, the New York Giants. Now, Daniel Jones didn't play the most stellar game. He was 23-31 for 225 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. And he had a QBR 73, which is pretty good on a scale of 0 to 100. But Daniel Jones is the future at quarterback for the New York Giants. And they finally have a quarterback. It's a good thing that they benched Eli Manning because this team looked lifeless without him. It's just the team looks different. They have a different energy. Daniel Jones brings a different type of vibe to the New York Giants. And if you're a New York Giants fan, you should be excited. You should be excited because this kid, he looks legit. He looks good. And he doesn't have many weapons right now. Let's keep in mind, his best weapon is Saquon Barkley, and he's hurt. And he's 2-0 as a starter. He's 2-0 as a starter. Eli Manning couldn't win 2 games with this roster. This rookie's come in with no NFL experience and won 2 games. And he's brought life to this Giants team when they look lifeless with Eli Manning. Oh, this is good stuff in New York. This is good stuff. They're going to eat this up. This is good stuff in New York, and it's looking good for the New York Giants' future going forward. Everyone criticized the New York Giants when they took him at 6, but they're looking like the smart ones right now. This is why the Giants are the people in front office and the fans aren't. So that was good. My last winner, my Pittsburgh Steelers / Chase Daniel. And y'all are probably wondering why Chase Daniel. Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. Steelers, of course, got their first win. D looked fantastic. Rudolph played well. Game manager type stuff. Coaching was impressive overall. So Steelers just had to be in my top 5 just for that, you know. All the things I've criticized them about the last few weeks, they basically did a 180 with all those things. And the thing I'm most impressed about is the Steelers defensive core in the future, that is, going forward. They have TJ Watt, who Bobby Hart said is trash. Well, he wasn't trash yesterday. He was laying you out, putting you in the quarterback's lap, sat you down or told you a bedtime story. That's how much he was rocking you yesterday. Get out of here talking about TJ Watt's trash. You're trash. Sorry, I just got a little emotional there. But TJ Watt is a part of our future defensive core. Stephon Tuitt been dominant this year. Devin Bush, Terrell Edmonds, and Minkah Fitzpatrick. That is a good defensive core to have going forward. You have a playmaker at each level of the defense, and that's just so key in the NFL nowadays. I don't even want to get too excited, but that's a good defensive core going forward. So I like what the Steelers have on defense. It's just a matter of scheming and coaching. But if they can keep this up, what they did yesterday on defense, the Steelers are going to have a legit defense going forward into the future. The reason Chase Daniel is a winner, not because he went into the Bears game on Sunday, but in 11 seasons, Chase Daniel has 4 starts, and his career earnings is in excess of $34.3 million. I just think that's hilarious. I think that's funny that a guy's only made 4 starts in his entire career in 11 seasons, and he's made in excess of $34.3 million. So you got to be a winner for that. You've only made 4 starts in your career, and you've made $34 million. That's just hilarious. That's hilarious. So he's a definite winner just for that. Just for that. Oh man, love it. When I saw that was just something funny. I want to get to these losers. Oh boy, we have got some bad stuff going on here. We've got some bad stuff going on here. First losers. Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff. Jared Goff got an extension, got $110 million, most in the highest paid quarterback right now. And Jared Goff had 4 turnovers yesterday and had a double-digit home loss on Sunday, 3 interceptions and a fumble. And Kirk Cousins has 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in the first quarter of the season. He had 2 fumbles on Sunday. He's ranked 31st in passing yards. He had a QBR of 14.8, 6.5 yards per attempt, 4-27 versus teams with a winning record. Oh my goodness. Let me keep going. He lost to Chase Daniel, and you're 2-11 versus top 5 defenses. Kirk Cousins is a disgrace. He's a disgrace. Him and Jared Goff on Sunday were horrible. This is what $194 million gets you? 4 turnovers, and then 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions on the season? This is unacceptable. $194 million, almost $200 million for this. This is trash. This is horrendous. Kirk Cousins, you're getting paid $84 million, and Jared Goff, you're getting paid $110, and this is what you put out on the field? You lose to the Bucs and their poorest defense so far this season? And Kirk Cousins, you can't muster up anything on offense. You have Adam Thielen. You have Dalvin Cook, the leading rusher in the NFL. You have Stephon Diggs. And you're 31st in passing yards per game and 32nd in passing yards per game? Or 32nd in passing first downs per game? That's atrocious. That's horrid. It's horrid. Terrible. Kirk Cousins, he's not a franchise quarterback. Let's just call it what it is. How are you 4-27 versus teams with a winning record? 4-27? There's nothing you can't make any excuses for Kirk Cousins. He has two good receivers, arguably number one receivers. You have two number one receivers. You have the league's leading rusher in Dalvin Cook, and you have an elite defense. Mike Zimmer's an elite defensive coach. What is your excuse not to produce? This team was just an NFC Championship game a couple of years ago, and they thought you were the missing piece. They thought you were better than Case Keenum. Case Keenum's a backup, but he got into the NFC Championship game before they got stomped by my Philadelphia Eagles. Kirk Cousins, what are you doing? 2-11 versus top 5 defenses? That means you just don't show up. 3 years, $84 million guaranteed, and this is what you're giving the Minnesota Vikings? This is abominable. This is terrible. Jared Goff's got to get the ship turned around, and he's got Sean McVay the best play caller, so I think he will. But on Sunday, that was terrible. 4 turnovers and 3 interceptions and a fumble by your franchise quarterback who you just gave the most guaranteed money in NFL history? Nah. There's no excuse for that. You got to do better. You have got to do better. That was unacceptable. That's just unacceptable. I'm sorry. It's unacceptable. Let me move on. Because there's another team that's a disgrace. And they're a disgrace. This organization is a disgrace. The Washington Redskins. I cannot count the ways that the Washington Redskins are a dysfunctional and horribly run franchise. Dan Snyder should be ashamed of himself for what he's done. This is bad ownership. I'm going to get to him in a second. But let me get to Jay Gruden. Let me just get to the Redskins as a whole, because there's just so many holes to poke in them. They're Swiss cheese today. Case Keenum, 6 of 11, 121 yards and interception. Before he had a foot injury, he got subbed out of the game, had a QBR of 26 with his suspect self. And then they threw Dwayne Haskins in there, threw him into the Wolves unprepared, saying that he wouldn't play, and they threw him in down 14-0. What were they trying to punish the kid? He was 9 of 17, 107 yards and 3 interceptions, had a QBR of 11. What were they hoping for? You may have just shattered that kid's confidence. You threw him in there with no running game, with no help. He's missing Terry McLaurin, y'all best receiver so far, Darius Geis and Jordan Reed. Yeah, no line. You had 3 starters out. You had 3 starters out, your center and your right guard, and Trent Williams is gone. And y'all not going to trade him? He had problems with the way y'all handle his injury. Your running game has 17 rushes for 55 yards, 3.2 yards per attempt. This is trash. This is trash all around. There's nothing good about the Washington Redskins. They're 0-4, and there's just this whole roster. It's terrible. It's terrible. The coaching is terrible. The ownership is terrible. The GM is terrible. This is all terrible. It's all horrible. And the Redskins are 3-13 in their last 16 NFC East games. What? How have you lost? Oh my goodness. The nation's capital. Oh boy. There are a lot of problems in the nation's capital right now. Chocolate City. This is horrible. There are gloomy days right now in Washington. There's nothing to be happy about. Between John Wall and Bradley Beal and the Washington Wizards, sorry selves, and now the Washington Redskins, there's nothing to be happy about. Gruden needs to be fired. His record is 35-48-1 as a head coach. And he only has 1 playoff appearance, and he lost to Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. And let's talk about let's talk about this front office, because they've mismanaged the quarterback situation. They've had 7 different QBs since 2013. Let's name them. RG3, who Jay Gruden criticized and said he could fix before his career ultimately went up in shambles. You had Kirk Cousins, who they bet against and didn't want to pay him. Then you traded for Alex Smith. He got hurt. Then you had Case Keenum. Then you had Mark Sanchez. Then you had Colt McCoy. And now you got Dwayne Haskins. This front office, since 2013, you've had 7 quarterbacks in 6 years. You've mismanaged the quarterback position. Completely mismanaged it. And let me get on your defense as well, because I'm not done. I'm not done. Your defense is 31st in points, giving up almost 30 points a game, 29.5. And you're 26th in yards, giving up 399 yards a game. Your defense stinks. It stinks. This is a poorly run franchise. This is a poorly run franchise as far as I'm concerned. You say that Haskins isn't ready to play yet. You throw him into the Wolves. He isn't ready. He wasn't prepared. He probably wasn't taking first team reps, or he probably wasn't getting any quarterback reps. You put in a guy who was not ready to play, who had the least amount of quarterback snaps or quarterback experience out of all the guys that were drafted. Kyler Murray was drafted. Daniel Jones was drafted. Drew Lock was drafted. And he only played 1 year. He's only played 1 year quarterback at Ohio State. He was impressive, but he needs a lot of grooming. He needs a lot of coaching. He needs a lot of developing. And you threw him into that fire knowing he was ill prepared. It's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. That right there is a fireable offense. But let me get to Bruce Allen and how he's done a poor job of constructing this roster. It's terrible. It's terrible. I don't know who would sign up for this. Bruce Allen's got to be fired too, as far as I'm concerned. And this all falls on Dan Snyder, because there was a report apparently that management was split on choosing Haskins in the draft. And some people wanted him to start this season and others didn't. Are you kidding me? First, you don't know if you want to draft the guy, and then you draft him, and then some of you want him to start and others don't. Knowing what you know. Come on, man. This organization is terrible. It's poorly run. It's poorly run. Dan Snyder is a terrible owner. It's just that simple. He's a terrible owner in the nation's capital. And it's got to be said. I know I live in Florida, but it's not hard to see dysfunction from this far. It's not hard. I just read to you all this stuff about the Washington Redskins. You can't make an argument that they're a functional franchise, that they're stable. You can't make an argument for this. There's a lot of that. Washington Redskins are horrible. They're horrible. They're disgraceful. They're disgraceful. That's all I have to say. I'm done with them. They're disgraceful. Let me get to these Atlanta Falcons, because Dan Quinn's job, it looks like it's over. Looks like it's over for the Atlanta Falcons. I guess it's only 4 games into the season, and maybe they could turn around. Matt Ryan's a good quarterback. But I just don't believe in the Atlanta Falcons. I can't. They've had so much talent. They have talent at all 3 levels of the defense. They have Grady Jarrett and Takk McKinley. They have Deion Jones and Devondre Campbell. They have Keanu Neal, Desmond Trufant, DeMontez Casey, and Ricardo Allen. And for some reason, and you have a good offense. You have Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Devontae Freeman, Mohamed Sanu, and Austin Hooper. And you have a good O-line. And for some reason, you're only averaging 17.5 points per game, good for 27th in the league. And Matt Ryan only threw for 397 yards, a bunch of empty calorie stats as far as I'm concerned, because you didn't get into the end zone. Ito Smith got to the end zone, and he's not the starting running back. As far as I'm concerned, Dan Quinn's about to be gone if they don't get this turned around. They're like the worst team in the division right now. They're like the worst team in the division. And you have the second best quarterback in the division other than Drew Brees, but he's hurt right now. So what is your excuse? You have talent everywhere. I just named it. You have talent on defense, and Dan Quinn's supposed to be a defensive head coach. You have plenty of talent on offense. You fired everybody last year. You fired the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, and the special teams coach. What is your excuse? There's no excuse. You have Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman, Mohamed Sanu, and Austin Hooper. We can make an argument that's the most talented offense in the league. What are you doing? How are you averaging only 18 points with arguably the best receiver in the league? A good number 2 in Calvin Ridley, a good running back in Devontae Freeman, a good slot receiver in Mohamed Sanu, and a good tight end in Austin Hooper. And you have a good O-line. You have talent at all 3 levels of his defense. Atlanta Falcons are a disappointment. They're a disappointment. They lost that Super Bowl and choked it away, and they haven't recovered since. They have plenty of talent on this roster. This isn't because of lack of talent. This is a lack of coaching. It's clear. This is a lack of coaching. This is bad. Atlanta Falcons are bad. They're bad. They're bad. I don't want to talk about them either anymore. This is bad. They upset me. They upset me because they have so much talent. I don't like seeing talented teams poorly coached. My 4th loser, Kyler Murray / Dak Prescott. I'm going to get to Dak a little bit, but Kyler Murray first. Kyler Murray has not been put in position to succeed. He hasn't. Cliff Kingsbury promised an innovative offense. But where is it? You're 24th in points, averaging 18 and a half. In yards, you're 24th, 326 yards per game. Passing yards, you're 21st, 234 yards per game. And rush yards, you're 23rd, 92 yards per game. This team had the worst O-line in the league last year with Josh Rosen getting beat up behind it. You're just lucky Kyler Murray can run really, really fast because you have a bad O-line. Your best weapon is an old Larry Fitzgerald. Your defense stinks. It's horrible. 29th in points, giving up 29 points a game. And 30th in yards, giving up over 400, giving up 418 yards per game. Kyler Murray's not in a position to succeed right now. He's in no position to succeed. Kyler Murray's not a loser because he's a loser. He's a loser because everything else around him is a loser. You have nothing. You have no line. You have no running game. You have no defense. And your best receiver is Larry Fitzgerald, who can't run faster than you and me. It's terrible. I feel bad for Kyler Murray. I like him a lot. I'm an Oklahoma fan, so of course I'm a little biased. But I think he should have went number 1 overall. He's the best quarterback in the draft to me. Couldn't show me anybody else. But what he's been given to work with, of course, I'm not expecting him to have some prolific offense or anything. He did get drafted to the worst team in the league. And the team that had the number 1 overall pick, so they're picking number 1 overall for a reason. But I thought there was going to be some innovative coaching from Cliff Kingsbury. You got the job because you coached Patrick Mahomes. That's the only reason you got the job. That's the only reason you got the job. You had a losing record at Texas Tech. Only reason you got the job was because of what Patrick Mahomes is doing right now. Do you have any innovative schemes? Because it doesn't look innovative right now. The same way Sean McVay's getting people hired, Patrick Mahomes just got Cliff Kingsbury a job in the NFL. He just got him one. It's just that simple. But he doesn't look real innovative right now. I'm wondering when I'm going to see the offense. 18 and a half points per game? That's not offense. That's a marginal offense. Any offense could score 17 points, 18 points. It's a passing league. And you're only throwing for 234 yards a game? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The Arizona Cardinals got a lot of work to do. Got a lot of work to do. They're not good on any front. Not good at all. You can't say anything they're good at. Their O-line stinks. Their defense stinks. Receivers are horrible. And you have no running game. Kyler Murray's running for his life back there. Come on, man. Need to see some coaching from Cliff Kingsbury. Need to see something. I'm going to move on. As most of you know, I can't stand you Cowboys fans. You guys disgust me. You sicken me. Everything about you guys. Everything. I just want to make it very clear right now. I hope you guys lose and continue to lose. Because the more you lose, the more joy it'll bring me. The more you win, the more misery it'll bring me. Because I have to come in here and brag about y'all. Because y'all are a good team. Y'all are a good team. I cannot deny that. I cannot deny that the Cowboys are a good team. And you're a Super Bowl contender. As hard as it is to say, you guys are. But I'm going to tell you what I have a problem with. Dak Prescott hasn't gotten paid yet. The two guys in his draft class, Carson Wentz and Jared Goff, have gotten paid. Carson Wentz got paid $107 million. Jared Goff got $110. Dak Prescott hasn't gotten paid yet. Now, in Dak's defense, Dak has been healthier than Carson Wentz. He's got a playoff victory. Carson Wentz hasn't even sniffed the playoffs. And he's got the second most wins since he's entered the league. Second only to Tom Brady. So, those are, in Dak's defense, you know, he's a pretty good quarterback. I'm not going to say he stinks like some other people do. I'm not going to question his ability to throw the football. He's not the most talented thrower. Not the most accurate thrower all the time. But I want to get to something bigger because I noticed something that they showed on Sunday Night Football. A picture. Dak. I'm wondering what the Cowboys are trying to tell us. I think they're telling us something that's an indictment on Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott has four QBs, four former QBs on the coaching staff. Jason Garrett was a former QB. Kellen Moore, the offensive play caller, former QB. John Kitna, who is the Cowboys quarterback coach, is a former QB. And Doug Nasamir, I may be getting his name wrong, but he's the Cowboys tight end coach. If you believe in your quarterback, why do you have four former QBs on your coaching staff? Carson Wentz don't got that. Aaron Rodgers don't got that. Lamar Jackson don't got that. Patrick Mahomes don't got that. Baker Mayfield don't got that. Sam Darnold doesn't have that. Josh Allen doesn't have that. These are all teams other than Aaron Rodgers. I just name a bunch of teams that have young QBs. Jared Goff doesn't have that. He's got the best play caller in the league, though, but he doesn't have that. Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have that. I just named a bunch of young QBs that don't have four former QBs on their coaching staff, but for some reason the Cowboys do. That's interesting to me. I think that's telling. I think it's telling that they don't think Dak Prescott is a franchise QB, or at the very least, they don't think that he deserves to be the highest paid quarterback in the league. They don't think that. I'm going to tell you why they don't think that. Because if you know that you have a franchise quarterback, you pay him. Quarterback's the most important position in the league. Most important position in all of sports. Jerry Jones said he didn't want to reset the running back market with Zeke, but he did that. Give him $50 million guaranteed, $100 million contract, 6 years. And now it appears Jerry Jones doesn't want to reset the QB market. But why is that? It's not like the Cowboys don't have money. Jerry Jones is a billionaire. No, it's because Jerry Jones doesn't believe in Dak Prescott. Jerry Jones doesn't. I'm going to tell you how I know this. Number one, like I already said, quarterback's most important position in all of sports, arguably. You have to have a quarterback before you can compete for a Super Bowl. Now, Jerry Jones knows he has a good quarterback, but you know what else he knows he has? He has the highest paid running back. He has the best pure runner in football, in Zeke Elliott. He knows that for sure. And he knows more often than not, Zeke is going to run for over 100 yards. And what's that going to do? Open up everything for Dak to make easy reads, slants to Amari Cooper, deep routes to Michael Gallup, throws down the seam. You're going to open up the play action passing game. And Jerry Jones also knows he has a great defense. He has the two best inside linebackers in the league by far. He has a good number one corner, Byron Jones. He just paid DeMarcus Lawrence, who's a good pass rusher. Robert Quinn looked like a good pass rusher on Sunday Night Football against the Saints. Your D tackles are pretty good. Jerry Jones knows he has all the ingredients to win a Super Bowl. But he knows that Dak isn't the one that stirs the drink. He knows that's Zeke, and that's why he paid him first. Cowboys are 1-8 when Zeke doesn't run runs for less than 75 yards. They know. Jerry Jones paid Zeke even though he's had multiple off-the-field incidents, and Dak Prescott's proved that he's more than trustworthy. Dak Prescott hasn't done anything wrong, but why hasn't he gotten paid? And the reports are that the Cowboys and Dak Prescott are far apart on contract negotiations so far. I wonder why that is. Dak wants to be the highest paid quarterback, but the Cowboys are thinking, you're more of like a $25 to $30 million quarterback. You're not as talented as Wentz. You're not as talented as Mahomes. You're not as talented as Aaron Rodgers. I think that the Cowboys think that Dak needs a perfect situation to succeed. And what I mean by that is a perfect environment. Where play calling with Kellen Moore, where the running back runs against less stacked boxes and Dak can throw the football. There's more room to throw it. You need a running back who's led the league in rushing every year. And the one time that he got suspended, he led the league in rushing yards per game. So he would have led the league in rushing again. In O-line, you have 3 Pro Bowlers on offensive line. Lyle Collins would have been a first-round pick if not for the false accusations against him. And they have a defense. You have all the ingredients to win a Super Bowl. I think the Cowboys are arguing that he needs a perfect situation. I think that Saints game will be used against him. Unfortunately. But why have 4 QB coaches on your roster if you believe in your quarterback? If you think he's a franchise quarterback? I get Dak's in his 4th year. It's not like he's a 2nd or 3rd year. Dak has plenty of experience. Kellen Moore's new play caller. What do you need 4 former QBs on your coaching staff for? Why? I already named the guys. Wentz doesn't have that. Lamar Jackson doesn't have that. Mahomes doesn't have that. Sam Darnold doesn't have that. Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't have that. Kyler Murray doesn't have that. There's plenty of other young QBs that don't have that. But for some reason, Dak Prescott does. I don't know. I think the Cowboys should pay Dak Prescott. He deserves his money. He deserves to be the highest paid. He's up next. It's not about whether you are the best. It's about who's up next in line to get paid. And right now, Jerry Jones keeps saying it'll get done. But don't let this linger on throughout the season. Because you disrespect Dak Prescott, he has a good season, and you don't pay him what you think, you don't pay him what he thinks he deserves. Cowboys could be in a world of trouble. They could be in a world of trouble. This isn't good. The Cowboys are betting that Dak Prescott's going to not show up so they could justify underpaying him. So they could justify giving him 25 to 30 million instead of 30 to 34 to 35 million. They're waiting for it. And Sunday night was the latest example. It was the latest example. The Cowboys do not want to give Dak Prescott, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff money. They don't. It's obvious. It's relatively obvious. They paid Zeke, a guy who had off-the-field incidents multiple times before they paid the most important position in the league. So that shows you where they think this team strengths are. They know this is a running football team, and everybody else knows too. Anybody that's game planning to stop the Cowboys knows they have to stop Zeke because that gives you your best chance to succeed. But Dak ain't no slouch. He ain't no slouch at all. Like I said, he's not as talented as Wentz, Mahomes, and Aaron Rodgers. Those guys just have a different type of ability to throw the football. They just do. Dak Prescott's not better than Carson Wentz. He's not. He's not more talented than Carson Wentz as a thrower either. He's got better weapons. He's got the best receiver in the division by far. Mark Cooper's better than any receiver the Eagles have. Cowboys have better O-line than the Eagles. Cowboys have a better defense than the Eagles. Cowboys have better linebackers. They don't have a better D-line, but they have better linebackers. They have a better secondary by far. Have better O-line in my estimation. Only thing the Cowboys don't have better than the Eagles is their D-line and their quarterback. But everywhere else, the Cowboys win. But I think Dak's a loser this week. Not because he didn't play. He didn't play horrible. He had 3 drives to get it to win the game for the Cowboys, and he didn't get it done. But he's got the most game-winning drives since he's been in the league too. Now, whether that's because he dug a hole and he had to get them out of it, look, everybody else can debate that. But what can't be disputed, he has the most game-winning drives. So clearly he's clutch. But I think Jerry Jones and the Cowboys front office don't believe in Dak Prescott as much as they say they do. And they don't want to reset the market for him. So it's going to be interesting watching that down the stretch. 4 QB coaches on your coaching staff. No other quarterback has that. That's an indictment on Dak Prescott. It's an indictment. The Cowboys won't say it, obviously, but that's an indictment. None of the other young QBs have that. None of them. We'll move on. The last top loser for the week was the Bengals. This team looks defeated. It looks like they just want to sim to the end of the season. They're atrocious. Between them, the Dolphins, and the Washington Redskins, they're all horrible. Their O-line gave up 8 sacks. They gave them 19 sacks on the year in 4 games. That's horrible. You're giving up almost 4 sacks on average a game. More like 4.5. Close to 5 sacks per game. Your passing game looks ineffective. Zach Taylor's in his first year, so you expect there to be some growing pains. AJ Green's not playing right now, obviously. But Tyler Boyd's been playing good. He had a good year last year. John Ross has showed back up. Joe Mixon's a good running back, but their O-line, you can't win without an O-line. Andy Dalton had no time to throw last night, and Bengals are just horrible. They're horrible. They're the worst team in the AFC North. So they're, of course, the last loser. But overall, it was a good week for me. My Eagles won. They got 10 days off, hoping they trade for Jalen Ramsey. Steelers won. Cowboys lost. Hope they continue to lose. Please lose to the Packers. Please do. Pretty please with sugar on top. Please lose. But overall, it was a good NFL week for me for once. But I'm going to get out of here. Thank you guys for listening. This is last episode for this week. I'm probably not going to be having another string of episodes like this because the Eagles played on Thursday night. Everybody else played Sunday, and then Steelers played Monday night. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Unless you guys just like listen to me. That's cool too. But I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate you guys for listening. If you have any questions that you want to ask, that you want me to answer for next week's episode on Monday, leave them in the comment section under this episode, under the previous 2 episodes, and I'll get in the lab and do my study work and give you my opinion as always. But until then, I'm gonna sign off. I'm out.